Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Whale Nerds podcast. This is Katlyn, and I actually have Eric with me for this episode. We're doing mini episode number 4.
Hey, all you cool cats and kittens. I just had to say that.
Eric's been in isolation too long. He watched all of Tiger King.
The bad thing about me is, I did it before it was cool, because, Tiger's
Oh,
cool,
you
you know?
hipster binge watcher.
Yeah, so I literally sat there till 3 in the morning and watched
No, you
all
watched
of
them
it.
all back to back?
I watched them all back to back, because I was like, this craziness is cool. And what's crazy is, I'm older. I've been involved with animals, wildlife for a while, and then, there's 2 people on the show. It's like, I know these people, so, or know of them, so.
Wait, who was it? Was it Doc Antle?
I don't want to talk about it, but yeah. But, because I used to kind of hang out with people who worked at some sanctuaries, and, just through the grapevine, I've met people and stuff like that. And what's funny is, yeah, and if you really think about it, any animal field, you could make a show like that, especially us Monterey people know that. Wink, wink, so.
Yeah. I've been saying that for years, and I used to say, you've heard me say it, I would get all flustered with how wild the personalities were, and then I'd be like, are big cat people like this? Well, here's your answer. Yes, they are.
And what's funny is there's actually a little Monterey link to the Tiger King. He was did some transactions with that Monterey animal sanctuary too. So
Joe did, or Doc Antle did?
Joe did. Yeah.
I heard there was a connection to Doc too, but I didn't really read up on it. I think the Monterey Weekly wrote about it.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's a wildlife in general. It's a small field, and unfortunately, egos and everything.
It's a small field with big personalities.
Yeah, the personalities get in the way. Unfortunately, for all fields, it's like that now, and I think that's not beneficial for the animals at all. Yeah. I mean, we're seeing it right now in the whale watch. Any wildlife, it's happening. It's
yeah, and I think it's been like that for a long time. I mean, moving to a new place and kind of getting the lowdown of the personality types of Maui, it was the same thing. It's the same story you tell people when they first come to Monterey to work. You're like, okay, here's what happened.
Yeah. A lot of us, luckily, who are just, it's all about the animals, it's good, but the egos, and especially now, we got so much free time. I mean, you look at Instagram, you look at some of these people's account. I'm not going to name any names. I'm into paleontology too, so I go into this one account about paleontology. Instead of each post from this account is of a person. You don't see any fossils at all. It's like, come on, what's going on here? People are so full of themselves. It's like, okay, you love fossils, but where are the damn fossils? Why am
I followed this to see pictures of fossils.
Yeah, why am I looking at a person? It's like, I don't get it.
That's funny.
Yeah.
So Eric is joining me on this mini episode because I finished the 3 about whale song, and we're going to talk about whale hitchhikers instead.
Cool.
Because we're super nerds.
Yeah. It's stuff that's often ignored, but it's so fascinating. I think eventually people get hooked about the fun facts we tell them about it. And, that's kind of like our job. They kind of, I like doing the thing where I'll tell you something, but I'm not going to tell you all of it because I want you to look it up yourself, and that's the best way to learn.
Yeah, that's exactly what I said about whale song. I was like, this is very low definition data, and I kind of pieced it together into a story, but I'm sharing the links to all my resources so you can go look it up later if you're super into it.
Exactly. Now with the Google machine, you can just go on there and DIY your own research and fun facts.
Yeah, and I said this during recording Minisode number 3. But I'll say it again if you're just kind of browsing different topics. Right now, because of the pandemic, a lot of journals are free and open access. So take advantage. If you want to get, all the information and download papers, right now is your chance, because they're not behind paywalls for a lot of the journals, which is cool.
And for those of you on Marmam, sometimes even if they do put those paywalls up, as I said earlier, a lot of us aren't in here for bucks and glory. You can just simply email the author of the paper, and they'd be happy to email it to you free of charge, instead of starting an account on a journal or something like that. So always look for that.
Yep, that's true. And that's pretty true across most fields in science, that a lot of times you can just email the lead author and they're allowed to send you a copy.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
And there's some people who are just so good at collecting things. You ever hit up Pete?
Oh yeah, Pete Garvin. If you need a paper, he's like, "Oh, here you go."
You need it, and he'll have it. And now I think who's helping him? He's got a few people helping them. He emailed them. They'll have it. There's a few people I can name out there who, I'm like, what are you doing? You must have the biggest hard drive in the world. You're just like, they have it. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's definitely resources. If you're looking for something in particular, you can ask us and we can direct you to the right person also, if you don't know any of those people. So yeah. So Eric, it kind of got me thinking about this topic when he posted, was it on your PCH project account about gray whale barnacles? And then you said I
think it was still my non-educational account, my pretty picture one, my own. Yeah.
Yeah. And he said there's a whole bunch of different species of barnacles, and you said 30 plus, and I was like, what?
Yeah.
We have to look into this.
Yeah. Well, actually, it's whale lice you're referring to that has about 31 species. Genus wise, I want to say we have about 2 major ones, right? Am I correct?
I actually looked it up. So in this 1987 key, dichotomous key and guide to the whale lice species, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 genus.
Wow. Okay, that we consider whale lice. Okay.
Yep. They're all let's see, there was an introductory page. They're all Siamidae, and then they break out further from there. Let's see. Yeah. Isocyanus, Neocyanus, Platysyamus, and Syncyamus, in addition to Siamus. And they say in the 80s, they said there was 16 species, but I'm sure it's been updated since then.
Yeah. I don't know why that number 31 keeps on popping in my head. Am I right? Is it 31?
Yeah. I also have found some articles that I couldn't get free access to, that in the abstracts, they say 20 barnacle species.
Did you try emailing the author?
No, I was looking it up this afternoon. So, yeah, I think if you delved into it more and you really, really wanted to get into whale lice, there's definitely probably some updated information.
You know why you couldn't get those papers?
Why?
Probably because of Carol Baskin.
God, Carol Baskin.
It's just so last month. I'll stop with those.
So, do you want to talk about gray whale lice first?
I can talk about gray whale lice. I think, yeah.
They're the most obvious.
They're most obvious. I love gray whales. It seems like, I don't know why.
They're very crusty.
When I'm on a boat, seems like I'm the only one who flips out about gray whales. I think because I've had so much, great experiences with them. And
yeah, a lot of up-close personal time.
Yeah. But, yeah, gray whales, it's the most obvious. You get a gray whale that's born that's usually solid gray. Then about 3 months of age, you'll see that white pigment starts popping up along their body. They almost look like a piece of marble. And then while they're down growing up in Baja, you'll start seeing the hitchhikers appear in their bodies. You'll start seeing the early stages of barnacles growing on them. And the barnacle, the one type of barnacle that's on the gray whale is, I can't pronounce it. Sure, can you say it? The genus starts with a C. The species name starts with an R.
Wait, I think I have it written out somewhere. Is it Cetopyrus?
You know what? I always have.
The Gray Whale Bible.
Oh, there we go. Cryptolepis. Yeah. Arachnecti. Sorry.
Oh, I see it.
Yeah. And yeah, that's what we always barnacle-wise that we see grow only on gray whales. And I know you'll always hear naturalists say only on gray whales. If you count some odd instances, decades ago, a orca calf washed up, I want to say, a California coast that had one of those barnacles on it. There's also another case of some captive animals. Was it a beluga or something weird like that? Just some random gray whale barnacle somehow ended up on another species a while back too. So we pretty sure that these barnacles actually are attaching on in Baja, and it's kind of neat. In fact, you know what, Caitlin, I'll send you the pictures. Maybe we can use this for our thumbnail. But
yeah,
that dead calf that I checked out, was it 3 years ago? Yeah, I had the early stages of barnacles, and you can see them just literally abrupt through the skin. But the barnacles, everyone, before they attach, they don't look like a barnacle. They actually have these little feet. They crawl around.
Yeah, they can walk. Isn't that
yeah,
weird?
They literally walk and find a prime spot on the whale that's both has good water flow, but not too much water flow. Yeah, so if you look at a gray whale, if you ever gotten lucky enough and gotten a close look, it's usually around blowhole, and also sometimes around the ventral grooves or pleats. Gray whales only have a few of them, 3 to 4, and then you'll see other ones that pick some not too popular spots, but
also in the dimples a lot on their rostrum.
Yeah, it's usually around the head you see a lot of those barnacles, but eventually, they grow and grow, and they actually really get into the skin. And for those of you who don't know, they can really latch on, because cetacean skin is what should we say about? It's 20 times thicker than a human skin almost. It's unbelievable. If you ever been
it also heals and grows really fast.
Yeah. So if you've been lucky enough to, unfortunately, get seen a stranding or something like that, and looked at even the young gray whale skin, it literally almost looks like a tire sometimes.
Yeah.
Thick that skin is. Yeah, and they can really latch on there. In fact, there are some researchers looking at how they attach and stuff like that. So, yeah, one species of barnacle on these gray whales.
Yeah, so I looked up whale barnacles in general and tried to find some more information just like generically about them.
Oh, cool.
They originally evolved from turtle barnacles.
Mm-hmm.
And then they had to go through a different evolutionary path to be able to settle on the skin of whales, because it's different than the carapace of a turtle.
Yeah.
But they have been around for at least 3.5 million years as whale barnacles, which is pretty wild.
Yeah.
And in the fossil record, you can use fossils of whale barnacles to recreate the historic migration routes of whales.
Did you find that paper? That was pretty recent.
I found this one is older. It's from 2006 from New Zealand Journal of Geology and Geophysics, but there were, I think, some other newer papers.
There might be some later ones that are probably about a year or two old. I'm pretty sure, since it's semi-paleo related, I probably kept it. But yeah, that's fairly new that we've been detecting migration routes through fossil records.
Yeah, and this paper was cool because it had a map graphic showing all the routes that they were looking at, which most of them are still the same humpback routes in use today.
Yeah, it's pretty neat.
And then they also had a table that showed how many specimens they had. So in Ecuador, they had 70 barnacle shells that they found, but some places they found one shell.
Huh.
Holy moly. How lucky are you that you found one barnacle shell in your area that you were studying?
That's interesting.
And some of them even were found by Darwin. There's one from England, and it says Darwin 1854.
That's crazy.
Isn't that wild?
That brings up another thing. Since I'm so in love with gray whales, I wonder when they were in the Atlantic, was it still that way, or if they didn't have those barnacles? They might have been.
We could do the Atlantic gray whale is another minisode topic.
Yeah.
That could be pretty cool.
Yeah, it'd be fascinating, but kind of short.
Well, maybe not. I don't know. Maybe, paleontologists figured out a lot of stuff about them.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so then also all whale barnacles are considered acorn barnacles.
Uh-huh.
There are 14 accepted species of whale barnacles. 6 still exist today, and the rest are extinct.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to think, and maybe I misinterpreted how I was taught at school, or maybe we didn't understand at the time. I used to think that each species of whale had its own lice and barnacles, but actually some of the species of barnacles can be found across multiple species.
Some, yeah, just like the whale lice, yeah. Some, yeah.
The lice, yeah, there's a few instances where they cross over as well, but a lot of them are like unique to that animal.
Yeah.
And then the life cycle of a barnacle is about a year. So the way I was taught in school is that they also reproduce the same time that the whales are in the breeding grounds, because that's their highest rate of settlement, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Time your barnacle life with your whale life. And for people that like have no idea what we're talking about, if you were to describe the relationship between a lice between a barnacle and a whale, it's commensalism. So the barnacle gets all the benefit, but it doesn't help or harm the whale. And then lice, it's mutual, because the lice get a benefit and the whale gets a benefit.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because that it brings up a common question we get on the boat, especially with gray whales and even with humpbacks sometimes, especially when they start lunging, is people see the barnacles and whale lice on these animals, and they always assume, something like that looks parasitic, so it's taking advantage of the whale and it's harmful. So they always ask, is that harmful to the whales? There are times that, especially with humpbacks, it seems like the barnacles can be beneficial. Mm-hmm. Sometimes with the males. I always tell people how it's almost like a body armor, especially male whales, humpbacks, when they get into that competitive behavior. Mm-hmm. They seem to swing those barnacle covered appendages at each other and stuff like that. Hence, that's why you'll see so many males during competitive behavior all scratched up. I got a few shots of that, from our late fall season here, and I'm sure you and Maui definitely saw that, so those hard-shelled items literally become brass knuckles or body armor for these animals.
Totally. And I don't know. I mean, I don't see it explored very heavily, but like gray whales are bottom feeders, so they're like scraping on the seafloor a lot.
Yeah.
And like they do shed off the barnacles on that side of their face, and I don't know if the barnacles just like that access to nutrients and that's why they settle there, or if like the whale also is getting a benefit of like protection for its skin or what.
Yeah. It's hard to say with gray whales. I haven't heard anything about that. I know with the humpbacks, we always come up with the theory that, could actually be kind of beneficial for them to have the hard barnacles as protection and almost like a weapon. But gray whales, yeah, haven't heard anything about that yet. But
yeah, I don't know. It's just an idea. But
yeah, and their skin.
They definitely will rub them off on that side of the face when they're feeding.
Yeah, I haven't heard much about gray whales rubbing. I do know. We know about orcas on rub beaches, but they usually don't have any barnacles on them. I know bowheads up north have actually over on the northeast part of Canada will actually go rub up on some of these large boulders they've found. So.
Oh yeah, because there's a place for bowhead whales on like the Russia side too that they do that, and like people snorkel with them.
Oh geez.
Yeah, Jim Scarf was telling me about that.
Oh yeah, he sent me that article for that. Yeah, he's saying that was something that I would probably do.
Me too, but that's just like wild, snorkeling with bowhead whales in Russia. Like what a weird combo.
But many of these cases is not because they're removing barnacles. It's just because these animals are always molting and stuff like that. People don't realize that. Yeah, whales molt, everyone. In fact, there's who was it? Oh yeah, Allison just brought that up. Yeah, in one of her posts about how these animals will like to molt usually in the warmer waters. You want much skin as possible, and you're in the colder waters on you to help you insulate. And I think I just mentioned earlier, yeah, whale skin, everyone, it's thick stuff. I think at least 20 times thicker than humans. Have you heard this fact, Caitlin, that supposedly with small cetaceans, like bottlenose, like it's almost like what, in 2 hours they get like a complete molt? Is that true? You heard? I forgot where I heard that. I wish I could verify it.
I heard something like that because it does grow really fast.
Yeah.
And it's also like, especially for odontocetes and small cetaceans, like something about the way the water flows across it and the physical structure of it like makes them more hydrodynamic.
It's probably literally getting flung off as they swim more.
Well, I don't know. It like something about how it eddies the water around their body. It like makes them even more efficient in water. It's like really crazy. So, yeah. And then there's these barnacles that people will ask about on dolphins that they'll see them hanging off their tails. And that's the Xenoblanus.
Yeah.
And that species of barnacle in particular is pretty common across all subtropical cetaceans. Like you see them on pilot whales, beaked whales. You'll see them on blue whales.
Yeah.
So, and those ones have like a little stalk coming off of them.
Yeah.
Like little gooseneck barnacles.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Seeing those, there was one type that was really getting some attention the last few years out here, off the California coast, especially in Southern California. We started getting a good amount of fin whales in the area with those pennella copepods. Not technically a barnacle, but yeah, they're kind of neat looking. They are almost a foot long or so on these animals, and when they're ready to breed or to reproduce, they turn bright red. So from a distance, and
it looks so weird.
That photo, yeah, people are like, oh no, is that a cut? And then you gotta tell them, oh, look closely, and they're like, oh, it's not. It's actually a copepod.
Yeah, and those are deemed parasitic. The pennella.
Oh, they are.
Yeah, I think so, because I don't think the whale's getting any benefit out of it because it's burrowing
into the blubber
under the skin. Yeah,
it's probably yummy blubber.
Yeah, and I don't know how much it harms the whale, but I don't think it would be deemed a commensalism. I think it is a parasitic relationship, but I'd have to look into that one more.
Yeah, there was like a little craze with them for a while. It's like
in SoCal,
fact, you can barely find any information on pennella. I mean, I know Diane had that had a lot to do with some of the latest information on them, but should actually probably ask her, what's the latest on that?
Yeah, she had some posters, but I was just like not into pennella that much, so I never really, admittedly, I never really looked at them.
Yeah, it's so funny. Stuff on whales. I know this is a mini episode, but I realized we probably could have done a full one. We haven't even talked about whale lice yet, so it's like...
Yeah. So let's talk about whale lice. There's definitely more you could say about barnacles, but the long and short of it is there's acorn barnacles and those gooseneck stalk barnacles. There's two different types. And they can be transplanted across species.
Yeah.
And then in this whale lice guide I found...
You have a whale lice guide?
Yeah.
Where the hell did you get that?
Cool. Huh?
Where the hell did you get that?
Google Scholar.
Oh, okay.
It's from 1987. It's the dichotomous key and guide. It lists all the species and how many species of lice are associated with them.
Oh, send that to me, please.
Yeah. So it says bowhead whales have 1, gray whales have 3, blue whales have 1, fin whales and minke whales have 1, and those blue whales, fin whales, and minke whales all have the same species of lice.
And I think the bowhead 1 actually can go on to gray whales.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, they're the same ones listed together.
Sorry, guys, I'm obsessed with gray whales. Welcome to the Gray Whale Show.
And then humpbacks have 1.
Mm-hmm.
North Pacific right whales have 3. And South Pacific right whales have 3, and they're the same. Mm-hmm. And actually, there was a study done on this genetics of the barnacles to look at the divergence in geologic time of like how different they are. And that also then matched when North and Pacific right whales stopped interacting and like were separated by the equator as the continents moved. And so it was just like a reassurance of how, like, when those populations became subspecies, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then in toothed whales, sperm whales actually have 4 species of lice.
They look so clean. I just would think they're on there.
And then bottlenose whale have 1. Baird's beaked whale have 2. Pilot whales have 1. Pseudo-orca false killer whales have 2. Then they have this ocean dolphin category, which I'm assuming, although common dolphins have their own line, so I don't know. They have 1. Long-snouted dolphin. This is an old, I wonder, Stenella graphmani. What is that?
I don't know. I don't know Stenella since I'm
dolphin.
Stuck here in California.
I don't know what it is. It's definitely been reclassified, but it has 1 species of lice. Common dolphins and Rizzo's dolphins have the same species of lice.
Interesting.
Go figure on that one. Bottlenose dolphin have 1. Narwhals have 2, and belugas have 2. Yeah.
Dang, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and the narwhal and beluga ones are the same, so they both share the same species of lice.
Did you mention Cuvier's, Baird's, or any like mesos?
Baird's.
Or
Baird's have
whales?
2.
Okay.
And bottlenose whales.
I'm just wondering if those whales have less, because maybe during deep dives, I wonder if whale lice can even tolerate that pressure. You go down deep, and they just like fall off, like, this pressure.
Yeah, it could be. But some of this also may have to do with the amount of samples of fresh carcasses that they had too. Like, especially beaked whales, you don't get them fresh that often.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, so same question as before. If people knew about whale lice, or if they can see them, because the barnacles are more obvious. Do whale lice harm whales, Caitlin?
No, they're actually beneficial for whales.
Beneficial.
Yeah. So, I think the best example of how to explain that is scarback, the gray whale,
which was seen with a calf. I don't know if you heard about that. Yeah,
she was. She's such a good old lady.
Oh wait, you're back home.
Yeah.
You can see her probably.
Maybe. They're trying to keep people away from the Oregon coast right now, but yeah, I might sneak out there and go look for her.
Why don't you do some research?
I mean, I could. I don't think she's there yet, because the state parks have been doing live web streams almost at least 2 or 3 times a week from Depot Bay, and they haven't said they've seen her yet.
Oh, okay.
She swims slow. She's got a baby and she's got a big spinal injury. So scarback, the leading theory as to why she has an injury is she has that asymmetrical potential exploding harpoon wound on her back, and it has never closed in the 30 plus years of sighting history that she has. And the whale, often the wound looks pink, and it's actually because the whale lice are in there eating the dead skin. And so that's what whale lice do for whales, is they clean up the skin, like as barnacles fall off, or they get injuries, or they rub up on each other, or they spend time in cold water and just have loose skin sitting around. The lice clean it up. So both the lice having a place to live and something to eat, and the whale getting a exfoliation all the time from them, I guess you could say, or a cleanup job from them all the time. It benefits both of them.
Yeah. Now you said cleanup job. There's even, we often see whale lice on animals with injuries. There's some thought they could even literally be cleaning up, dead tissue. Almost like that gross thing that some surgeons have been doing, or doctors have been doing, using literally maggots to eat away necrotic tissue in humans and stuff like that. Yeah,
totally. I mean, if you talk to anyone on whale disentanglement, they'll probably tell you about whale lice loads around, entanglement injuries, especially after they've been disentangled. And then with scarback, I mean, Jim Sumich has always said, I don't think she'd be alive unless she had the whale lice constantly cleaning that open wound on her.
And then Oh, I wish Slater was here. He would remember this. Maybe about 4 years ago in Southern California, we had a humpback that I think everyone will remember, Scarlet. And the reason why we call her Scarlet because she was literally just pink, almost red. Her body was completely covered with whale lice. So yeah, that's often. I don't know how to say this without being like completely certain. Some people say it's a sign of poor health, but then again, we look at Scarback, we see animals recover and stuff like that.
Well, they say so, like, especially with whale lice, if it's covering like a significant portion of the whale's body, like more than 40% of its total skin coverage, then it would be a sign of poor health. Usually those animals also look really thin.
Yeah.
Or their skin overall is discolored. And so if it's not in one concentrated area, it's just like a solid layer of lice all over the body, then usually that's a bad sign for the whale.
That's how Scarlet was. I mean, but then she got cleaned up. We enjoyed her for quite a while, and the next thing you know, she was gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what. That's an interesting story, because you would think when they lose the lice load, you're like, oh, good, they're going to be fine. And then she was gone.
Yeah.
But
have you been lucky enough to actually get a hold of whale lice?
We had it when I did the parks interpretation program for Oregon.
Oh, cool.
During the gray whale migration, we had little jars of them. We had, at Pack Whale, we had krill and barnacles.
Oh, okay.
We didn't have lice.
Yeah. I just wish it was easier to obtain, and I'd love to show it up close to people. Some of you are probably wondering, especially the whale lice, they're not attached, like a barnacle. They're literally, I always describe them. Yeah, I always describe them. Yeah, they literally have these needle sharp legs, feet, that they're really like poking into the whale. And also the whale lice is often on the barnacles, especially with gray whales, so that's obviously easier to hold on to. So yeah, they're on there for pretty good. And if you've never gotten a close look at whale lice, just Google it. I always describe them as looking kind of like a aquatic tick.
Yeah, they look like an ocean bug.
Yeah. And now that we talked about the two animals, we talked about how the both animals really aren't harmful most of the time. But there's some people that say that the whale lice can actually kind of literally eat through the skin below the barnacles and cause them to drop off and stuff like that. So the whale lice sometimes could be there to kind of control the amount of barnacles on certain whales.
Yeah, and the only time barnacles really would become harmful is if the load was so heavy that it like created a lot of drag on the whale. Yeah. I mean, they usually do carry like 1,000 pounds of barnacles, but when you already weigh 80,000 pounds, like what's another 1,000 pounds?
That's nothing. Yeah.
So the only other hitchhiker I can think of that is obvious is Remora. And they have like a suction cup on their head. Yeah. And they're actually, when they're attached to the whale, their orientation is like upside down, right?
Kind of, yeah. The suction cup is actually it's technically should have been the animal's dorsal fin. So it evolved into more of a disc, and yeah, the animal's on for numerous reasons. People think, one, it's easier obviously to hitch a ride, be on the slipstream or literally attached to an animal. Depending on what they're attached to, what type of animal. It's not just whales that remoras,
Yeah.
Free meal, scraps, protection also. You're on a bigger animal, no one's gonna mess with you. Yeah. But there's a few types of remoras that end up on our it all depends on where the animal is. There's different species, like the remoras that we see. The only remoras I've seen on cetaceans out here on the California coast have been on blue whales, and they're a lot smaller than the ones I've seen like on animals in the tropics or towards the east coast. I've seen huge remora there, are about 3 feet, and that would obviously take.
There's different species of them too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And You can see remora on like whale sharks. I've seen photos of them on common dolphins down in Southern California.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you're right. Someone has seen them on a dolphin. I just see them a lot on blue whales. I got a few shots of those. Find them.
Totally. The only other marine mammals that I can think of that we didn't cover besides whales and dolphins that get hitchhikers are dugongs and manatees.
Oh yeah.
They get algae that grow on their skin.
Uh-huh.
And they get barnacles.
Yeah, the barnacles on them are neat. They usually get attached to them when they are out and more towards the true saltwater environment. So for them, that will usually be during the warmer months. Manatees tend to hang out in warmer waters. They like warmer waters. So during the summer, that's usually going to be towards the coastline where their food's really abundant. Also, they only eat certain types of vegetation and algae, so they'll eat that. And then as it cools down, they gotta look for warm water, and that's usually going to be more towards freshwater or brackish environments. So they'll go into these warm springs all over Florida and the southeast, and the barnacles can't survive in that, so they fall off. So if you look hard enough in some of those springs, you can actually find the barnacles that have fallen off these manatees, and you'll still see a layer of skin. They're just like some cetaceans out there that drop skin, so the skin's easily falling off with the barnacle. I have a picture of that too somewhere.
Yeah, and I remember when we went to swim with the manatees, the guide said it's kind of a proxy to estimate how long the manatee's been out at sea and how long it's been in the spring if it has barnacles on it.
Yeah. So yeah, if it just got there, it probably still has some left. If it just got into that freshwater spring area or brackish water, you'll see some on there. I don't think I've seen any with them still attached.
I've seen photos, but I didn't see it when we were swimming with them. So, but I did see like little scars.
Yeah, you can see them. They a lot of scars on them.
Yep. So I think that's kind of the basics of all the hitchhikers.
Yeah. That was
whales
fun.
carry their own ecosystem on their skin, which is pretty cool.
I always describe them as a floating planet, especially gray whales. There's so much on there.
Definitely gray whales. They're, I think, the heaviest loaded.
Yeah.
So, and then like right whales, you'll see these other calcified structures on their face. Yeah. Those are callosities that like they produced. They do have barnacles and lice, but they also produce their own like calcified parts of their skin.
Yeah. And that's a great spot for whale lice to actually cling on. You get a close look at those areas. You'll see them. And those areas, it's funny. Someone explained it really, really well, easily to me. If you look at where they're located, it's kind of like where our facial hair would be if you really look at them. It's kind of neat. If anyone ever says, no, they're not mammals, like, no, really? Look at the little details. You'll get a lot of evidence and clues that, yes, they are mammals, dummy.
Yes. All right. Well, I think that pretty much wraps it up for cetacean and Sirenian hitchhikers. So, we'll come up with some other fun topics for everybody to stay engaged with. And if you guys have topic suggestions, let us know. We'd love to hear from you guys about what you want to hear about while you're stuck in quarantine. And we did get a new Patreon follower, Jessica. So thank you for your support in that, especially right now.
Yeah, thanks, Jessica.
And you can direct message us on Instagram, Facebook. We'll post our resources on Facebook. You can email us, whalenerds@gmail.com. And I also would encourage you to like rate the podcast somewhere, wherever you listen to it. Like, if you think we're doing a good job, give us 5 stars. If we're not, leave us a comment with your rating and tell us why. And it also helps us find new listeners if we're getting ratings on the different platforms, because then we know where to like look for people. So yeah, thank you so much and stay safe and healthy out there.
All right. Thanks, everyone.